This video is sponsored by Conflict of Nations, a free online player versus player strategy game where you can lead your nation in a modern-day global conflict. Set in the present day, research and make use of over 100 cutting-edge weapons and vehicles to fight with up to 64 real players at a time in exciting real-time combat. Declare war on your neighbours or forge alliances as strong as the coalition of Desert Storm. Conquer provinces, take capitals, and fight for world domination in hard-fought campaigns that can last weeks. Conflict of Nations is cross-platform, so you can compete with your friends on both PC and mobile on the same account to find out who is the ultimate general. The Operations Room fans who sign up by clicking the unique link below will receive 13,000 gold and a month of premium subscription completely free. Don't miss out, as the offer is only available for 30 days, so click the link in the description below, choose your country, and start fighting your way to victory. On the 14th of January 2004, Jean-François, a young French boy, is skipping through the streets, singing and eating an ice cream, having wandered off from his mother. Worried, she calls for him, finally spotting her son skipping towards two very suspicious-looking men. Too young to understand the potential dangers of the world, he skips right into one of the two men, smudging chocolate fudge brownie flavoured ice cream on the man's back and all over his own face. The scary-looking man turns and glares at him with hate and fury. The two men walk away. Little Jean-François has no idea what he has just stumbled upon. His freedom and liberty is in grave danger. Amid the ongoing Operation Iraqi Freedom, a mysterious new enemy threatens the West. While coalition forces search for weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, American intelligence has alerted US Special Forces to new insurgent activity in the city of Paris, which is in France, 3,635 miles east of America. Intelligence has intercepted communications regarding a potential exchange of a weapon of mass destruction in the city centre. There is a new proliferation of WMD across the world, and a new Special Forces task force, callsign Whiskey Papa, has been formed to combat this new threat to freedom. Having confirmed with intelligence the location of Paris, Task Force Whiskey Papa scrambles from their base in South Dakota. The formation of Task Force Whiskey Papa was ordered by President George W. Bush to combat threats to freedom across the world. An elite team handpicked from the United States' most elite special forces, team members include experts in martial arts, leadership, communications, and psychology. As Task Force Whiskey Papa approaches French airspace, the operators decide not to alert the French authorities to their presence in the area. As the French had refused to take part in the 2003 invasion of Iraq, the general agreement on board is that the skills of the task force in securing freedom are superior, and that it would be best to keep their elite mission a secret from the French to maximise the chance of success. Back on the Parisian street, little Jean-François has been reunited with his mother. As an adult, she knows how scary the world is right now, and shouts angrily at her son for running off. Glancing up, she notices that the two men have met with two others. She hears them exchange a few words in a faraway dialect before handing over a small briefcase that appears to be emitting a glow, a repeating ominous beep, and a flashing red light. She gasps at the sight. She doesn't know what the object is, but she knows her freedom is at stake. She feels completely alone. All of a sudden, the city is consumed with the sound of police sirens coming from the sky. In the nick of time, Task Force Whiskey Papa is coming again to save the day. The men on the ground seem panicked. An MH-60L Black Hawk in Special Operations camouflage comes to a hover near the group of men. A loudspeaker mounted to the helicopter emits a direct instruction. You in the road, put down the weapon of mass destruction and get on the ground. You're under arrest. But these men have no intention of being taken alive. Three immediately open fire on the helicopter and begin firing wildly into the crowd of civilians in the area of the Eiffel Tower. The two operators in the helicopter begin to fast rope out of the doors. They have been given no choice but to use maximum force to eliminate the militants. They return fire while still on the rope. This is a new secret prototype of the MH-60, which is capable of flying without the two crewmen, who are now out of the cockpit and approaching the ground. One militant takes a hit and collapses into a nearby fountain. This is a combined arms operation, and the Whiskey Papa Humvee arrives at the scene to provide backup. Its driver, callsign Carson, jumps out and shouts further commands at the militants to get on the ground. The man carrying the bomb runs for it in the chaos. The other 3 militants scatter and continue to fire at civilians in the vicinity, instead of returning fire on the Whiskey Papa operators. In his hatred and desire to kill infidels, one militant fails to spot a further female Whiskey Papa operator who has been deployed secretly on the ground on foot before the operation. She calls on the man to turn around so that she can identify him, and then eliminates him with a single round from her shotgun, sending him flying into a nearby croissant shop. Nearby, MH60 crewman Chris, whose surname has been redacted for security purposes, has cornered another militant near a theatre. The militant attempts to fire his AK-47 assault rifle, but it has run out of ammunition. According to eyewitness reports, at this exact moment, Chris spots an actor leaving the theatre, and his eyes fill with rage. It's unclear in the reports why. In his fury, he throws his own weapon to the ground, and decides that he is going to beat this militant to death with his bare hands. The 2 men eye each other up for a moment, before launching into a vicious physical engagement. Chris is Task Force Whiskey Papa's martial arts expert, but the militant has also received training in Shaolin Kung Fu. Eyewitnesses are staggered by the fight. The skills of both combatants are on full display. But despite some intense early moves against him that nearly throw him off balance, Chris manages to gain the upper hand, pinning the militant to the ground. He gives mercy and places the man under arrest. In the nearby chaos, callsign Carson spots the final man carrying the WMD running towards the Eiffel Tower, and alerts Chris's MH60 crewmate and team leader, callsign Joe. Joe thinks quickly and acts decisively to stop the threat. He pulls out his highly modified AT-4 shoulder-launched rocket launcher and takes aim at the target. With a flash, the rocket projectile screams through the air. The militant changes direction and the rocket flashes past, just missing him. Due to the smoke of the rocket launch, the team on the ground have lost sight of the man carrying the WMD. Carson calls callsign Sarah, pilot of a close air support aircraft loitering above the city, on standby to provide airstrikes on targets if needed, and asks her if she has a fix on the escaping militant. Luckily, everyone has aids with which they can track the man through the smoke. Sarah spots him on infrared imagery heading for the Louvre, an art museum in the heart of Paris. Relieved, she achieves lock on the target as he runs through the doors. This is one threat to freedom who will not escape. She launches an AGM-88 HARM missile which attains good track. The missile screams into the building and detonates, achieving good effect on target. The militant has been taken out. Elation erupts amongst the team. Messages of congratulations fill the airwaves between team members, Sarah in the air, and military intelligence back home in South Dakota. Task Force Whiskey Papa triumphantly report of the civilians of Paris emerging, seemingly thankful to the team for the defense of their freedom. Callsign Joe, a languages expert, communicates in fluent French that the mission has been a success. Whiskey Papa reconvenes to discuss their perfectly executed operation. However, they've made just one mistake. The first militant in the fountain has not been checked. The man is mortally wounded, but not yet dead. In a final act of defiance, the militant emerges and fires his final rounds into the back of callsign Carson. In a fit of fury, the team members unload their remaining rounds into the militant, killing him instantly. The after-action reports would describe the operation as a complete success, with 4 militants killed for the loss of only 1 American. President George W. Bush addresses the nation, describing the surgical operation to find and eliminate a WMD with minimal collateral damage, and that thanks to the bravery of Task Force Whiskey Papa, the freedom of Spain has been secured. Thanks again to our sponsor Conflict of Nations for supporting this video. Don't forget to support the Operations Room by clicking the link in the description below and starting your journey to global victory today.